Whoa.
Shall I try?
If you just play a few notes of it and then I can talk. Is that all right? Balaíomh a chuirde go léir tá fáilte ó bhisteach ócáid speisialt le seo inniu. This is a wonderful morning and welcome everybody. And the rain stayed away. It said 23% chance of a shower. And my wife wanted me to bring the umbrella, but I've left it in the car because I'll lose it in a pub later on. I would like to call on the Consul General of Ireland, Rosie Kane, I'm very sorry, Rosie, to do an acknowledgement to country. And Rosie comes with excellent pedigree because she's from the west of Ireland. And where would we be without them? Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you very much, Jerry, and I like your remarks about the west of Ireland. It's very true. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin my remarks, I want to acknowledge the lands on which we stand, Gadigal lands of the Eora Nation, and I'd like to pay my tribute to elders past, present and emerging. Sorry. Thank you, Biz. Oh. Perfect, thanks. Adina Ushla. Is mór an honour dom a bheith an seo libh an tróna seo I gcuimhne na chalíní Éireannach a tháinig go dtí an Austral chun síl nua a thosnú tar éis an gcuirte. Ladies and gentlemen, as Ireland's Consul General to New South Wales, it's a great honour to join with you here today to commemorate the Irish Famine girls and to celebrate their contribution and that of their many descendants, many of whom are here today, to the achievements of the Irish here in Australia and to the strong links between our two countries. At the outset, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Cameron Murphy, MLC, and Susan Carter, MLC, and I'd like to thank them very much for their steadfast support for the Irish community here in New South Wales. It's now been over 170 years since the first wave of young Irish women, the Earl Grey girls, set foot on Australian shores, a wave which would ultimately see more than 4,000 young Irish women resettled here in Australia. And notwithstanding the passage of time, the symbolism of their journey resonates as strongly today as it did all those years ago. The Earl Grey girls, they came here with little by way of material goods, but what they did have in droves was courage and resilience. In preparation for this morning's commemoration, I researched some of the backstories of these girls. And while I hope you'll forgive my generalisation, the vast majority of these girls were teenagers. Some of them were as young as 14. They were impoverished, orphaned, and in many cases illiterate. And all of that before they travelled thousands of miles to literally the other side of the world. So I think you'll agree with me when I say that the odds were really stacked against them. But here we are, 170 years later, commemorating these women, remembering their names, their legacy, and celebrating their courage and resilience. Their impact on this land cannot be quantified, but if I may, I'd like to quote the former Irish President, Mary McAleese, who put it so well when she said about them, "Out of their courage, guts and gumption was distilled the spirit of Australia." Their journey and legacy, while it's one of great courage and resilience, also has important lessons for us in a modern context. Today, there are so many people forced to leave their lands and to seek sanctuary elsewhere. And I like to think that as we commemorate our past, and we pay tribute to those that went before us, that we should recall that their circumstances aren't so terribly different to what many are facing today, and that we should always look on compassion on those people as we would have wished somebody would have done for those famine girls. Acharja, ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, this important and much anticipated event event takes place every year. And that it does so is a testament to the hard work of many people who make it possible for us to come together at this beautiful monument to remember a difficult but defining moment for the Irish and the Irish diaspora here in Australia. And to this end, I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous contribution from the late Tom Power and the late Jack Mundy. And I'd also like to thank Hussein and Angela Valamanesh for their vision. And I'd also like to thank the hard work of former committee chairs, Dr. Perry McIntyre, Dr. Trish Power and Damien Ennis. And of course the many, many volunteers and committee members who've helped down through the years. I'd also like to thank Mary Darwell and the Living Sydney Museum team. And I think you'll agree that it is really, really touching that this monument is located in such a central spot and in such a spot that's so near and dear to people from Sydney. And I think that that demonstrates the affection and the connection that the City of Sydney has for these orphan girls and to the many of thousands of Irish people who shaped this wonderful city. I'd also like to thank Western Sydney University, who are represented today here by Ray Villarica and Jayashree Banerjee, who each year work with this organisation to award the Irish Famine Memorial Prize. And I'm incredibly proud of this award and indeed the past recipients who very much embody the strength, courage and determination of those Earl Grey girls. And if I may, I would like to acknowledge the presence of one of our past winners here today, Zainab Kavari, who's here today with her family, and it's really lovely to have you here. My deep gratitude also goes to the McMollys, Katrina Mullins and Jackie McVie, and also to Jarvis O'Hart and Victoria Saya from St. Luke's Grammar. And I know that you'll be treating us to some fabulous musical interludes later on. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Bez Campion, Fergal Macaulay, and for their ongoing support for this event year after year, and it's very much appreciated by us all. And I'd also like to pay tribute to Jerry, who expertly MCs this event every year. And last but by no means least, I want to thank Kevin Hennessy and Callum McFarlane from the Consulate, who worked incredibly hard to bring together today's event. I'm very, very grateful to you both. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Jerry to take us through the rest of the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. That's lovely. Just a few bit of housekeeping for anybody who needs the toilet facilities. They're that way. And if we could ask you to put your mobile phones on silent, that would be nice. Thank you. Right, it's still part of the formalities at the initial part of the ceremony. We're going to ask Jackie McPhee from Belfast to sing the Australian anthem. Thank you.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, a beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you very much. Now, brace yourselves, because I'm going to sing the Irish national anthem. And what I'm going to do then is that I will just read out the English translation of the Irish anthem. I'll sing the anthem in Oscailge, but then I'll just read out the translation for you that might like to appreciate the lyrics. Sheena Fina Foil a Thofeyal Egerin Wind Slew Har time the Ronnie Queen Fe Vod Vesir Shantir or Shinter Fasta Niog for Fenchir on no Fentro an nacht a heim sa ha barna bwil, le gian ghailchan bosh no sil, le gan I shreach, fel hoch na biler, shaliv kanig auron navin. So it says, soldiers are we, Gurmil Magiv. Soldiers are we whose lives are pledged to Ireland. Some have come from a land beyond the wave, sworn to be free. No more our ancient sireland shall shelter the despot or the slave. Tonight we man the Barna Whale, that's the dangerous gap. In Erin's cause come woe or wail. Mid cannons roar and rifles peal, we'll chant a soldier's song. Thank you. Please be seated. Just to say that Martin Folan sends his apologies. Martin was one of the original founders of the whole monument, along with Tom Power, of course. And Richard O'Brien, former ambassador of Ireland to Australia, also sends his apologies. He lives up in Macquarie now, Port Macquarie, and he just wishes everything goes well today for us. In addition, we have a situation where ordinarily we head off out the back here for a few beers afterwards, but we're going to O'Brien's pub, PJ O'Brien's, off Clarence Street, down the back there. We'll all meet there, probably upstairs in O'Brien's after the event, if you feel you want to go for a coffee or a lemonade or something stronger. And after all the speeches today, you might need something stronger. Now, my next item on the agenda, I have so many pages, will be to... Rosie, you've done your piece, so we don't need to go through that. It's time, actually, for the musical performers, the McMolleys, Cleenham Mullins and Jackie McPhee, to do a beautiful song, Orphan Girl, written by Brendan Graham. And also they'll sing Morona Heron, which means Women of Ireland. And where would we be without the women of Ireland? So I'll invite Cleena and the team to take over the music slot for the next few minutes. And subsequent to that, we have a beautiful address from Perry McIntyre. Well, let's go with The Orphan Girl. It's a fabulous song that Brendan wrote to commemorate... Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't introduce Mary. That's fine. And after that, Mary Darrell will do a talk from the Houses Trust, Australia. Away live, as they say in Ireland.
Thanks, Jerry.
Sail me away to Australia.
decent and I'm clean, fit for any man to know. And I will be some good man's wife if there I settle down. And I'll find myself a better life if I get to Sydney town. Sail, sail, sail me away, sail me to Australia. Sail, sail, sail me, I pray, sail me away to Australia. Sail me away, sail me, I pray. Oh, sail me away to Australia. I am an orphan girl. Oh, I am an orphan girl. So the next song's Asqueliga. So in Irish, Manona Heron means Women of Ireland, which we thought was appropriate for today. I hope you like it. Taban in Éireann, Amhránach sé dú, small no. Taban in Éireann, Spapinyan leiche, Maraflikyo, no shenam tain. Taban in Éireann, Snavarli bio, Michelle ni, Molaki grey, small half Taban in Éireann, Avayaw legeilam, Murawina go. Oh, Vanarena, Nagachan scala, smoke raving low, Talbana barlam, no kahis kadim, no guayam gajo, Stakalin speru, Igvargan fella, du ran gron. But in we it's
Well done. Well played. Absolutely fantastic. Now, the whole event today, I want to thank Vez and Jason, who are doing the sound and the live stream. You'll notice on your program a barcode at the back of the program. And actually, the barcode isn't functioning at the moment. So in order to get it to live stream when you want to see it at home again, you can go onto Facebook, the Consulate Facebook, where it will be live streamed there. Am I right, Vez? Yeah, okay. We have to be right with the Rathdowney fellows because we can't get that wrong. Now, I'd like to ask for any of you who are descendants of the orphan girls to put their hands up. Well, that's a great attendance. That is probably 60%, 70% of the group here today. You're all very welcome. That's wonderful. Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I would ask Mary Darwell, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Museums of History New South Wales, to come forward and do a little talk to us. Mary, where are you? Okay, great. Right, you're welcome.
Thank you. I always need a shorter microphone. Thank you. Thanks very much, Jerry. Good morning, everyone, and I too would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people. Thank you. And pay my respects to elders past and present. Distinguished guests, friends, I'm Mary Darwell. I am, as Jerry said, the CEO of the Museums of History New South Wales, and I would like to welcome you all here today to the UNESCO World Heritage listed Hyde Park Barracks. The Museums of History New South Wales is a new cultural institution of the state of New South Wales, which brings together the incredible colonial buildings that was the responsibility of the Historic Houses Trust, which include the Hyde Park Barracks, with the state archives. And that presents an incredible opportunity for the state to explore our past, and in exploring our past, understand who we are and the opportunities for the future. The Australian monument to the Great Irish Famine was officially unveiled on the 28th of August 1999 by the then Governor-General, Sir William Deane. Each year since, a commemoration has been held here, and this year we commemorate the 25th anniversary of the public anniversary of the memorial. As you know, between 1848 and 1852, more than 2,000 Irish girls, known as the Irish Orphans, arrived in Australia and were housed here at the barracks during its term as Sydney's newly established female immigration depot. We can only imagine the feelings, as Rosie said, of apprehension, uncertainty and possibly hope that these young girls experienced as they walked onto this site. The descendants of these girls, many among us today, as we've just found out, are proof of how these young women contributed to who we are today in New South Wales and Australia. This important national monument, the Australian Monument to the Great Irish Famine, is located here today because of the barracks' central role in the immigration scheme to relocate Irish orphan girls. However, the monument to the Irish experience resonates well beyond the experience of these women. It's constructed on the site which reflects the stories of First Nations people and is Gadigal land. And it's also the site of the former convict barracks kitchen and mess halls. So the monument connects with the broader history of the location of the state. Of the 30% of the estimated 50,000 convicts who passed through these gates were Irish born. After the arrival of the Irish girls, many more of the 40,000 women who arrived at the depot were also Irish, having decided to immigrate due to the long-term effects of the famine. This is a history that is valued and embraced by the community of New South Wales. And I'm pleased to say that the Museums of History has just completed a booked-out Collections on Tour program, which took original records relating to the Irish orphan girls from the state archives to 4 locations in regional New South Wales. I was at the YAS event, and it was fabulous also to meet the community and descendants of Irish girls there. Additionally, through our partnership with Ancestry, we have also digitised and indexed records and made them freely available on our website. Curiously, a record of the daily report kept for the immigration depot on the 28th of August 1849, 175 years ago, has survived in the State Archives collection. There were 56 orphans in residence on that day, many of them having arrived in Sydney on the Lady Peel the previous month. Arthur Savage, the medical officer, reported that, quote, "The establishment was in good order, 1 on sick list, 2 convalescents." Matron Eliza Capps, an Irish woman herself, reported inmates employed washing, cleaning, in attendance for engagement at the usual hours. So, business as usual. The story of the immigration depot and the Irish girls featured on the ground level of the Hyde Park Barracks museums, and we invite you all into the museum today after the commemoration has been concluded. I'm so pleased that so many of you could join us today, and we value enormously your ongoing interest and participation in understanding who we are as a community. Thank you.
Gormila Mahagut Awara. That means thank you, Mary. You'll all be speaking Irish by the end of the day. Now, we have a guest speaker here today who's a great friend of Ireland and a great friend of the GIFCC and was very much involved in the startup of it all those years ago with Tom Power and Martin Folan and others. And Dr. Perry McIntyre is about to give us a talk. She's worked as an historian, archivist, and genealogist for over 40 years. So if she catches you and says, "What's your surname?" you'll get a little talk about it and you'll be fascinated. She's published and spoken widely on immigration and family history at conferences and local history organisations. She completed her PhD in 2006 on convict family reunion, and that was published as Free Passage in Ireland by Irish Academic Press in 2010 and by Anchor Books Australia in 2018. From 2007 until it folded in 2023, she was one of the 2 directors of Anchor Books Australia, formed to make good quality Australian history available to the general public. Her research focuses on 19th century immigration to Australia, particularly from Ireland, with research conducted not only in Australia, but in the UK and Ireland. That gave her a good excuse to go to Ireland every now and again. She's been a counsellor at the Society of Australian Genealogists from 1991 to 2011, the History Council of New South Wales President 2005-2006, the Royal Australian Historical Society, the Australian Catholic Historical Society, and the Mosman Historical Society. Perry was actively involved in the Great Irish Famine Commemoration Committee from 2006 to 2020, including being chair from 2012 until 2015, and again from 2018 to 2020. Perry is actively working on the young workhouse girls who emigrated to Sydney, Port Phillip and Adelaide in the famine years 1848 to 1850. In January 2021, she was awarded the AM, a member of the Order of Australia, for significant service to history, preservation and genealogical organisations. And she's proud to be a current visiting scholar at the State Library of New South Wales. And on that point, we welcome Rachel Franks, who runs the fellowship programme at the State Library. Would you welcome, please, Dr. Perry McIntyre.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Is that okay? And thank you very much, Mary. We're turning a director into a historian. I love to hear it. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Jerry, of course, is the best MC that any event could ever have, and he's come all the way today from Millthorpe. Thank you to Rosie Keane and her deputies, Kevin Hennessy and event manager Callum McFarlane, for stepping up this year to run the event. Also my long-term friends at the barracks, some of whom have gone on to bigger and better things, perhaps, but particularly to Scott Cumming, who has always been here on the ground managing these gatherings. I'd also like to mention Lynn Collins, who was curator here when Tom Power first approached the organisation, then known as Historic Houses Trust, in 1995. This memorial would not have been possible without the contributions of these individuals and many organisations, such as the Irish County Associations here in Australia. The support of the Irish government through the action of the Irish ambassador at the time, Richard O'Brien, who sends his regards to you all today from Port Macquarie, and his successors have been an integral part of the ongoing relationship between Ireland and Australia in remembering the past and looking forward to a bright, cohesive future. Thank you all who've made the memorial and days like this possible, including, of course, the thousands of descendants of these orphan girls who provided information, initially to Trevor McLaughlin. Thank you, Trevor. Yes, thousands of descendants over the years, since the 1980s, have made contact and supported the memorial research on the orphan girls. In particular, I want to thank the driving force for this memorial, Clonmel Tom Power, who I'm sure is smiling down upon us today. So I'm going to speak a little bit today about flight from famine. Irish immigrants who obtained a passage to Australia during the famine years 1848 to 52 were fortunate to escape this tumultuous time in Irish history. Many had their passages assisted by the Colonial Land and Immigration Commissioners, and in the case of 4,114 girls from the workhouses, they were given a totally free passage. That is, free to them, but paid for by the workhouses and funds from the commissioners. This talk today is designed to provide a glimpse of Irish people who were freed from starvation and disease by emigrating to Australia, and also a little bit of background for that time. This barracks had been built as a convict barracks, as Mary said, in 1819, and housed men who mainly went out in work gangs. Most of you will know that about a third of the convicts transported to Australia over the period 1788 to 1864 were Irish. Transportation to New South Wales had ceased in 1840, and relatively few Irish were transported to Tasmania until after transportation ended in New South Wales. For those convicts too were, in a sense, famine escapees, leaving Ireland between 1840 and 1853. With the cessation of transportation to New South Wales in 1840, by 1848 few were left in the barracks, the convicts that is, and there was a desperate need for a place to house the group of 185 single young women from Ireland who arrived on the first of 11 ships to Sydney, the Earl Grey. This barracks received these first young female immigrants in October 1848. This barracks received, pinpointing its beginning as an immigration depot, which operated as such for almost 40 years until 1886. Thus, it was a perfect site for the famine memorial. Assisted immigration from Great Britain and Ireland stopped when the bounty system ceased in 1844. It was not until mid-1847 that large-scale immigration resumed, when the Immigration Commissioners recommenced using colonial funds held in trust by them to meet labour requirements in the colonies. In the case of South Australian immigration, in 1846, the Colonial Land and Immigration Commission endeavoured to facilitate the immigration of single women, ceasing to insist that they be attached to immigrant families, as had been the case previously. They proposed that this idea be extended to New South Wales and hoped that the workhouses would supply a large number of eligible females, thus relieving the expense of the mother country in supporting these young people. As Trevor McLaughlin noted, post-famine Irish immigration to Australia was significant, with some claiming that over 30,000 single Irish women arrived over the 15-year period between 1848 and 1863. In a male-dominated society, these numbers altered the demographics of Australia in a very significant way. There were also claims that 30% of Australia's present population have some Irish blood in their veins, and at least 30% of you put your hands up today as descendants of orphan girls, so here we go, proof. Let me backtrack very briefly. Assisted passages for free women to Australia began in 1832, at a time when convict transportation was still in full swing in New South Wales and Tasmania. These passages boomed in the late 1830s and early 1840s. The British government had well-organised procedures and ways to move convicts from Great Britain and Ireland. But by the 1830s, the population of male convicts in New South Wales far exceeded females, and the colonial authorities were keen to address what they considered a dangerous imbalance of the sexes. Population numbers in December 1826 were 41,200 males compared to 12,500 females. By the end of 1834, the numbers were 76,000 males to 29,000 females. Clearly, if the colony was going to become a functioning, stable settlement, this imbalance needed to be addressed, and quickly. But the conundrum was where to find respectable single young women willing to immigrate who would fulfil the needs of the colonists as suitable domestic servants and potential marriage partners. Young male workers were only too happy to come to a young country where they could work and obtain land, but finding single, healthy and willing young females was fraught with difficulty. It's not always been recognised that Irish women, until recently of course, made a tremendous contribution to Australian society. About a third of convict women were Irish. More than 1,000 young women came to Sydney and Hobart in the 1830s from founding hospitals in Dublin and Cork. Approximately 18 to 19,000 Irish bounty and government-assisted migrants arrived in Melbourne and Sydney between 1839 and 1842. About half of these were female. The difference that these workhouse young women stand as symbolic figures as refugees from famine. They came from among the genuinely destitute class in Irish society, those whose world had been torn apart by the tragedy of Ngorta Moor. They were inmates of the recently constructed workhouse, orphaned by famine. Despite the orphan designation, just on a quarter of those to New South Wales where parental status was noted on the ship, as opposed to those that came to Port Phillip and Adelaide, they had a father or a mother still alive, and 37 had both parents still alive. They were mostly between 14 and 18 years of age, as designated by the regulations. Although the ships to Sydney and Port Phillip, which record the ages of 3,518 of the girls, show 5 who were 13. 271 were 19. 44 were 20, and 16 aged over 20, including one who was 28. And I suspect that might have been a mistake in recording, or she slipped in, who knows. Thus, just on 90.5% complied with the age regulations between 14 and 18, and all were ready and willing to grab the opportunity of a new life in the Antipodes. Admittedly, if they'd stayed at home in the workhouse, their outcomes may have been a lot less positive. Nevertheless, the early work of the Colonial Land and Immigration Commissioners did little to relieve distress in Ireland, and only 6,500 Irish people received a passage to Sydney in the years 1848 to 1850, out of a total of 16,200 from the United Kingdom as a whole. The 4,114 workhouse girls were part of this figure. comprising approximately 62% of the total number of immigrants in this period. What set these girls apart from other immigrants assisted to Australia was the selection process. For most immigrants, both Irish and English, their first meeting with the Immigration Commissioner's staff was at the English depot, prior to boarding the ship. Before then, they were simply names on application forms and invocation lists. Before then, by contrast, the orphan girls went through a lengthy sifting procedure in Ireland. After being selected as suitable immigrants by the workhouse authorities and the poor law inspector and agreeing to immigrate, they were then subjected to a final inspection by the Commissioner's Irish representative, usually Lieutenant Henry, a semi-retired naval officer who was the immigration agent based in Customs House, Dublin, who visited almost every workhouse throughout the country. At that time, there were 130 workhouses, part of the first buildings erected after the Irish Poor Law Act of 1838. Most were built by 1840, but many did not receive inmates until some time later. However, by the first year of the famine in 1845, all 130 workhouses were occupied, and many, built to house several hundred poor people, were flooded by thousands desperate for food and shelter by the time the famine arrived. What can we know about their personal situation? Of the 130 workhouses, only 111 supplied girls for this scheme. Why this was so is a much more in-depth question than can be answered here today, and you all breathe a sigh of relief. Some houses, such as Skibbereen, were simply too poor to supply the clothing necessary under the regulations outlined by the Colonial Land and Immigration Commissioners. As well as clothes, the workhouses had to pay to get the girls to Dublin, and the cost of a steamer to Plymouth was $13 and $6 per girl. I've been very fortunate to visit Ireland almost annually since my first visit there in 1987. And in fact, I was quite chuffed last time I went, where the immigration guy at the counter said, "Welcome home." I thought, thank you. I've now examined all surviving minutes and indoor registers in county libraries in every county, and those of the 6 counties of what is now Northern Ireland, which are held at the Public Record Office of Northern Ireland in Belfast. These records are extraordinary, as many of you will know. The minutes very occasionally give names of girls selected, but they also give numbers and detail how the workhouses organised their selection and departure. They often left on Bianconi's cars, Ireland's Cobb & Co coach equivalent, sometimes heading to the trains and then on to Dublin. I've actually located 914 of the girls, not a large number when you consider there were 4,114, but a very good sample, have been located in the workhouse registers that survive. So bear with me, I'll tell you a little bit briefly about a couple. Eliza Macready was among the first group of workhouse orphans to arrive in Sydney on the Earl Grey on the 6th of October 1848, after sailing from Plymouth on the 3rd of June. Eliza's story may or may not be typical. Some parts of the lives of these young Irish women remain unknowable. But the surviving indoor register of the Downpatrick workhouse shows Eliza first entered there on the 18th of October 1842 and remained until August 45. She's recorded as single Presbyterian shoemaker in delicate health, who had spent time in the Down Infirmary and was found on the General Union, which indication that she had no fixed abode and was almost certainly what today would be termed homeless. There's no indication how she survived out of the workhouse for over a year, but on the 14th of October 1846 she was readmitted and remained there for almost 12 months before again being discharged in September 47. Her life outside the workhouse was short-lived, and she was back by January 1848, then aged 18, and she remained until chosen as one of 12 from the Downpatrick workhouse, heading to Plymouth to board the Earl Grey to Sydney. The Downpatrick Poor Law Union had been formally declared on the 3rd of January 1840, the building erected between 1840 and 42, and fit to receive paupers by August 1842, only months before Eliza Macready became an inmate. The workhouse register does not indicate any family connections, but from the Immigration Board's lists of the Earl Grey, Eliza is shown as aged 18, from Downpatrick, house servant. She could read and write and had no relatives in the colony and no complaints about her voyage. Her parents are recorded on that Immigration Board's list as John and Eliza Macready, both dead. Anne Hardy first entered Ballymoney, County Antrim, on the 19th of May 1845 when aged 11. She was with her mother, Mary, aged 40, a widow with 3 children, unable to support her family. They all left the workhouse after only a week, but on the 27th of April 1846, Mary Hardy, now described as a mendicant widow, returned with 12-year-old Mary and her 2 sons, aged 10 and 6. All were described as Presbyterian, ragged and dirty on the Union at large. All left on the 4th of June 1846, but returned in early July and remained almost 2 years until August 1848, leaving but returning in 1849. Mary Ann's mother and her 2 brothers had left the workhouse on the 8th of August 1849, leaving Mary Ann there alone. 2 months later, aged 15, she left the workhouse with 9 others on the 4th of October, the date this group all left to meet the sailing of the Diadem from Plymouth. It's often been stated by historians and descendants of these young Famine immigrant women that they entered the workhouse in order to qualify for this free immigration scheme to Australia, but the rules appear to be adhered to as rigidly as possible. There are a few cases which indicate attempts to defraud the guardians. For example, on the 15th of September 1849, a party of 18 was approved to go to Australia, and the outfits completed in the Antrim workhouse. There was a problem with one of the selected girls, Eliza McCann, whose mother claimed her, despite having deserted her 2.5 years earlier, resulting in her becoming an inmate of the workhouse. The Antrim Board of Guardians were not impressed with what they called the unnatural conduct of the mother, resulting in Eliza's rejection in the final selection. The master of the Belfast workhouse found that Mary Campbell had made a false declaration representing herself to the Immigration Committee as an orphan, but by May 1848 she acknowledged that her mother lived in Belfast and she had falsified her statement to qualify for selection of immigration. Her name was struck off the list of proposed immigrants. It's unfortunate that the indoor registers for Belfast workhouse do not survive, and thus it's not possible to check when Mary Campbell entered or confirm her status and family situation. The Bandon minutes show that Lieutenant Henry attempted to adhere strictly to the rule of only sending orphans, and this Board of Guardians passed such a resolution relating to the selection of orphans, hoping it would be an inducement to prevent parents from sending their children to the workhouse to get them off their hands, which they admitted may have occasionally happened without their knowledge. Not much more. In June 1849, the guardians of the workhouse in Trim, County Meath, ordered that Bridget Keegan, who'd been in the workhouse for 6 years, be substituted as an immigrant for Mary Kennedy, Kenny, who had been only an inmate for 3 months. Bridget sailed with 12 other trim girls on the William and Mary to Sydney, so would have been in this barrack. The Poor Law Commissioners sought the sanction of the Immigration Commissioners for Catherine Slattery to be, quote, one of the girls to be sent to Australia. Her mother was dead, but her father was still alive, but was aged and a delicate man, quite unable to provide for her. Her plight and her industrious and good conduct won her a berth on the Maria to Sydney in 1850. This Australian famine monument is a memorial to the million or so who died during the famine period and those who were forced to immigrate everywhere, not just to Australia. While it's a memorial to those who died during Ngorta More, more importantly for Australia and Ireland, it's a way to remember those who survived, and in a very special way to the 4,114 famine orphans, so-called, who arrived in Australia under the Earl Grey scheme between 1848 and 1850. They have become the easily recognisable names, faces and stories of those who survived the famine. It's a monument to all who die in famines and wars throughout the world, and it stands to recognise the successes and the contributions Irish immigrants have made to the building of this great country. Thank you all.
That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Perry. A mine of information. And it is good that we have somebody like Perry to preserve all that information and all that research for future generations, not just for the descendants here today, but for the rest, for the future families. And as long as the generations after us don't spend the time on Google and get to read some of Perry's good works, that would be a great tribute to Perry and to the GIFCC and to everybody here today as well. Now we'll have a musical interlude. Is that all right? No? It's changed. Yeah, I have a different program, sorry. So we won't then. We'll go ahead with the awards from Western Sydney University. And we have here today representatives from Western Sydney University, Ray Villariccia, the annual giving manager, and Jasiri Banerjee, the annual giving coordinator from Western Sydney University. And alongside Rosie Kane, our esteemed Consul General, they will present this year's awards. We have two recipients, the previous one from last year, 2023, and we have the 2024 award winner as well. The previous winner is Zainab Kavari, and the new winner is, I've got so many notes, Sadav. Yeah, and I have Sadav's surname somewhere on a sheet of paper, I'm sorry. Yes, Sadav Hedari. Now, Romina, this year's winner of the Great Irish Famine Memorial Award, is currently studying a Bachelor of Medical Science at Western Sydney University, and her family, her mother, father, and brother are present here today at the ceremony as well. And Sadaf Hedari is the Great Irish Famine Memorial Award recipient for 2023, currently studying a Bachelor of Media Science, majoring in Human Anatomy and Physiology. And Sadaf is here as well today. So we welcome both recipients and their families. And I call on Rosie Kane, the Consul General, to help with the awards. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jerry, and I appreciate that you've been given many notes about today. And hello and welcome, everyone, distinguished guests and Rosie, thank you. So my name is Ray Villariccia, and before I say just a few words. I want to acknowledge that we're on the traditional lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I too want to pay my respects to their elders past and present. And a huge welcome to the descendants of the girls. It's so wonderful that so many of you have come today, and a huge thanks to the consulate for organising such a great event. For several years now, I've had the honour of attending this ceremony for the purpose of presenting the Great Irish Famine Memorial Prize. And each time it's had a profound impact on me as well. You know, now that I've learnt so much about the history of the girls, when I walk past the monument with my family, I stop and tell, my children about your stories. I think it's sorry for those online as well. We might have to edit the video, but anyway. Your stories, the stories of the girls, really resonate with the migrant story of Australia. I myself am a second-generation Filipino, and I think that belonging and the identity, the things that we all grow up with challenges around, I think the stories of the girls and the descendants have really struck a chord there. So, having survived the devastation of the famine and the loss of their families, the harsh conditions of the workhouses, the girls arrived here and faced further challenges. Discrimination, exploitation, and an uncertain future in many cases. Yet they persevered, contributing to the growth and development of this young colony. Their resilience is woven into the very fabric of Australia's history, and you, the descendants, and your future descendants, are expressions of that today. At Western Sydney University, we are deeply committed to supporting those who, like the Irish orphans, have had to overcome significant obstacles to pursue education and a new life. We are proud to be globally ranked as #1 in the world in the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings for our social, economic, and ecological impact. In Western Sydney, thank you. No other Australian university has been ranked #1 in such a comprehensive ranking there. Just wanted to put that out there. In Western Sydney, we witness transformative power of education every day. Our students, many from refugee and migrant backgrounds, bring with them stories of resilience and hope. They remind us that education is not just about acquiring knowledge, but empowering individuals to change their lives and, in turn, the lives of their communities. Today, as we remember the Irish girls who came before all of us, let us also reflect on the experiences of modern refugees who've come to Australia seeking a new beginning. Their stories of displacement, hardship, and resilience are not unlike those of the Irish girls. Just as the orphans contributed to the building of this nation, so too do today's refugees enrich our society with their strength and determination. The Great Irish Famine Memorial Prize is awarded in recognition of this enduring spirit. It is a tribute to the perseverance of women who have faced extraordinary challenges and continue to strive for excellence in their academic and personal lives. By supporting these students, we honour the legacy of the Irish girls and affirm our commitment to the values of inclusion, equity, and social justice. In the words of John O'Donoghue, in our mediocrity and distraction, we forget that we live in a wondrous universe. Today, we are reminded of the wonder of the resilience of the human spirit. As we commemorate the past, let us also look to the future with renewed commitment, supporting those who seek to make Australia their home. Their contributions will shape the future of this country, just as the Irish orphans did so many years ago. Thank you. And just as I compose myself, I'd like to invite, as we present the awards for this year, to two very wonderful and deserving students. First, because we did miss out on presenting last year, I'd like to call on Ms. Sadaf Haidari, to receive the prize, the Great Irish Famine Memorial Prize for the 2023 academic year.
Hello and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. I would like to pay my tributes and commemorate the orphan girls who came to Australia and tried their very best to build lives here. And thank you so much for all the descendants and everybody, my family, for coming here. And thanks to Western Sydney University for providing the chance for me and everybody else to study and supporting us throughout our journeys. So throughout the history, humans have been experiencing so many problems, inequalities, injustice, and we always tried our very best. So many philosophers come and so many people came and tried their very best to solve these problems, why we are having all these problems, and why humans are not able to overcome the challenges inside their own body. Like, there are many people who tried their best to make the world a better place for everybody, who sacrificed their lives, who wrote so many articles, but there were also people who destroyed others' lives and who made the world the worst place for everybody. So the main thing here comes to human themselves. We need to know why we are such different, like we are having all these different things in our body, why we are sometimes good, we are sometimes bad. This is not something to do with like literacy or probably poor people, because there are so many poor people who sacrifice their life for a better life for everybody else. So all we can do is, as the people who are living in the 21st century, and as the people who are having so many technological advancements and everything possible, like in today's world, we are planning to go to Mars, but still we are not able to overcome the challenges in our own. So let's do our very best to recognize why sometimes we are good and sometimes bad, not to sacrifice other people's lives, because everybody deserves equality in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sadaf, for those strong words and meaningful words. And so I'd also like to present the Great Irish Famine Memorial Award for 2024 to Romina Anawar.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to Her Excellency, the Honourable Rosie Keane, Consul General of Ireland, New South Wales, and the past members of the Great Irish Famine Commemoration Committee. Your support means the world to me, and I'm truly honoured to be here today. I would like to thank my parents for their courage in leaving everything behind, and my brother for his unwavering support. This award is as much a tribute to their dedication as it is to my efforts. I'm also deeply grateful to Western Sydney University, which has been more than just an institute of learning. It has been a beacon of hope. The opportunities and support I've received there have empowered me to turn in my experiences into a source of strength and purpose. My journey to this moment has been shaped by significant challenges. Fleeing Burma due to the ongoing genocide against my people, the Rohingya, and adjusting to a new life in Australia has been difficult, but I remain committed to my education and serving my community. This award is a profound honor, representing the strength and resilience that can emerge from adversity. As I stand here today, I cannot help but think of those who are still suffering today, those that are still fighting to survive each day, and the young children whose dreams have been replaced by unimaginable hardships. I dedicate this award to those voices that are silenced by injustice and whose dreams have been dimmed by hardships. Looking ahead, This recognition fuels my aspiration to impact the medical field, particularly in the improvement of healthcare access and advocating for health literacy in vulnerable communities. Thank you once again for this incredible, honorable award and believing in my journey.
Thank you, everybody. Now we come to the most solemn part and the most significant and poignant part of the ceremony, and that's the wreath laying. So before that, we'd like to do... No? The wreaths didn't arrive. Anyone got anything that looks like a wreath? The others will have flowers. The families will have flowers. Yeah, I will call on you in a moment. If I could ask people to be upstanding, please, and we'll do a minute's silence to the memory of all the orphan girls who came here in the 1840s. I'll keep the time. Thank you. Now I call on the families of the descendants of the orphan girls to form an orderly queue and lay the wreath just up here. And Cliona, can you give us some nice touching background music, please, during that part of the ceremony? Thank you. Thank you, Cliona. Very touching. Now, I just want to do one more thing before we go to a musical interlude, and then Rosie will do the closing remarks. is to ask again, if we get the photographers ready, for those descendants of the orphan girls to put their hands up once more, please. We want to get a photograph of this. You have 2 hands up. That's good. Is that to be sure? To be sure. Well, now maybe if you stand up, we'll do another photograph. Thank you. Just those. Yeah. That's great. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? That is fantastic. We're looking to form a new committee, so we'll welcome names. Got that one? Everybody happy? Right. Now, we're going to have a little musical interlude with Cleana and Jackie and 2 teenagers, or students, I suppose you could call them, from the St. Luke's Grammar School, Jarvis O'Hart and Tori Tseya. And they've got prepared some songs, and one of the songs will feature that Cleana wrote some years ago now, Courageous Girl. And Courageous Girl, the lyrics of it are actually in your program if you just want to read through them as the song is being sung. And I'll hand it over now to the professionals. And just before that rain falls, I think.
Pretending I was strong until
For those like me who come here with broken hearts to educate and feed them the space for all to flourish and grow the country's rich ideas far from home. We carry on though our hearts are broke. We carry on because we carry on pretending we are strong until one day we are. We carry on though our hearts are broke. We carry on because we carry on pretending we are strong until one day we are. Until one day we are.
You can see that Cleena is a good teacher, isn't she? And did you notice when Tori was playing Jarvis. Jarvis was playing the harp. Cleena was standing over here. You didn't notice that. Watch the video. She's so proud, I could see that. And it was a fabulous rendition. And the singing was excellent, exceptional. Thank you very much. Well done. So that's the proceedings. And I'm sure, Rosie, you'd like to put a closing chat through it all. First of all, I just quickly want to mention thank you to the Museums of History, New South Wales, Western Sydney University, PJ O'Brien's, Cleena and Jackie, and her team, the MacMollies, and of course, the man of the match, Vez Campion, and his sidekick, Jason. Thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
I won't keep you long because I'm sure there's something coming from above, but I don't quite know if I can say anything that's really going to match the emotion, and it's really been a roller coaster, and I think that the song just there, it was really beautiful, it was lovely. But I just want to thank you all so much. Just a few people in particular, Romina and Sidaf, your words today were just incredible, and I think our future is in very good hands with ladies like you. And to Mary Darwell and to Perry McIntyre, thank you so much for filling in the story for us, and I think it's really evident you both have such a passion for what you do, and it takes a lot of love and determination, but thank you for keeping their stories alive. I really appreciate it. And of course, I didn't mention it earlier, but I want to thank all of the descendants. I know many of you have come from a good distance today, but it's so touching to see flowers left there for teenage girls that arrived here 170 years ago. It's evident how proud you are of them and how much you love them still, and it is just so beautiful and touching. So thank you so much for coming along. And finally, to everybody that helped make today's event possible, hats off to you all. I really appreciate it, especially my team, Kevin and Callum, down there at the back. And to you all, you're all very welcome to join us in PJ's for a cup of tea or coffee or what Jerry likes. So thank you all very much. Gur Mahakat.
I'm just going to quickly thank the Irish government and the Consulate General, the Irish Consul General herself and her team, who put this together this year because we don't have a committee. And we're trying to form a committee. And you'll see on your brochure, if you'd like to help out committee-wise, you can contact Callum, who's the gentleman that met you on the way in this morning, and scanned you all, body scanned you and everything. So if Callum's email address is there if you wish to actually get involved, and committee work can be done. We'll do it by Zoom or something. We don't all have to sit in a cold hall talking about ham sandwiches till 4 in the morning. We won't do that. We'll make it a lively event to get this up and running every year. But thank you to the Irish government particularly. Slán agus bannacht agus go gúdaí déisibh go léir.